In a small town called Harvey, just south of the big city of Chicago, at Thornton Township High School, 5 guys who would become the Dells. It all began in the early 50s with fellas who just liked music.
My mother was a Seventh-day Adventist, and she said, well, you can't play this music in the house.
So she allowed him to take a record player and put it into the woodshed.
And listen to groups like the Clovers, Five Keys, Dominoes. Great groups. So we got there and harmonized.
And then the idea came, like a little light bulb went off there. Hey man, let's get a group.
And just so happened one was a baritone, one was a tenor, and one song.
The first name that we came up with was called the L-Rays.
The L-Rays were Michael Mickey McGill, a baritone, Chuck Barksdale, bass, Vern Allison, tenor, Johnny Funches, tenor, and Marvin Jr., baritone. And the L-Rays were just trying to make something happen.
We started bouncing around the neighborhood, going to these little parties, trying to sing, and they was booing us.
We couldn't sing on lick.
We couldn't sing.
So we said, well, if we sing, we'll meet more girls and, and be popular, yeah. We couldn't sing.
We wasn't no big thing. Didn't nobody pay no attention to us.
But that didn't stop them. They sang at talent contests, parties, at the ice cream hangout on Roby, and in a viaduct under 147th Street.
We used to go down in there and sing so the echo would, when you sang, your voices would echo.
Beautiful sound. But we had to always stand in the middle, because if we stand on the outside, the guide would try to pee on us. I swear to God.
All that singing made the L-Rays want to make a record, so they came here to South Michigan Avenue, at the time known as Record Row. Former impression, Jerry Butler.
If you had some talent, or if you thought you had some talent, you could just walk in off the street and set up an interview and come back and get heard.
We went to Chess Records, Leonard Chess, God rest his soul, and told him we were a group.
And begged Leonard Chess to give us a recording contract.
He did, and the group recorded.
We recorded a song called Christine, and on the flip side was a song called
Darling I Know, which was terrible.
Worst 2 songs you ever heard in your life.
Leonard Chess also had some words of advice for lead singer Marvin Jr.
Leonard Chess pulled me on the side and told me, look, Marvin, I like you. He said, but you're not a singer. You don't have the voice. It hurt me so bad I quit the group.
But not for long. And after the poor sales of their first record, the L-Rays went across the street to VJ Records, a label owned by Vivian Carter and Jimmy Bracken. One of Vivian Carter's first suggestions, change your name.
She said, well, here's a hat. Everybody threw a name in there, so everybody put names in there.
So the thing was to come up with a short name that would always get on the marquee.
So I came up with a list of names. I had the Dales, the Bales, the Dales, all kind of things, and she picked that out. So I came up with that name.
But the bigger story behind VJ was the hit.
Oh, what a night.
Oh, What a Night, version 1. That song was the beginning.
When they did Oh, What a Night, that was it.
Vivian Carter fell in love with it.
And one day this guy came and said, you guys got a hit record in New York City.
The record was bigger than us. Yeah, it was so big, man. You walk down the street, you hear this record all day long.
That's the one that got us to New York, to the Apollo.
The Apollo Theater, New York City, gateway to show business.
If you didn't make it in the Apollo Theater, you came home. They paid you off and told you, you go home. You're not ready for the Apollo Theater.
You couldn't warm up. You had to come out hot. You didn't come out hot, you got white.
If you didn't make it in Apollo, you couldn't go nowhere.
The highlight of my life was being accepted at the Apollo Theater. Well, it locked us in. We was broke, solid, but we were in show business.
But then came the lowest point.
That accident.
The accident with me.
That accident. That that tore us apart.
That was horrible. That's when I quit.
The Dells literally came to a crashing halt as a group. On the Ohio Turnpike on November 21st, 1958, the station wagon the group was in had a blowout. Johnny Funches was driving and lost control. Michael Mickey McGill would spend 6 months in traction. And though the uninjured four would go on to perform their slot at Philadelphia's Uptown Theater, the group broke up.
We have been going through this so much. Oh, people not paying you. And just everything, wasn't no great stuff about it. Everything was a hardship.
We came back, and when we got back, we just kind of disbanded, you know.
This was one of the worst recesses we could have had.
It took me years to get past that. You know, to drive, and it was awful.
After spending 6 long months in an Ohio hospital, Mickey returned to Harvey and married his high school sweetheart, Rose. But then he and Marvin and Johnny Funches went to work in the factories, while Vern and Chuck bounced around the music industry. But eventually, they all came back together.
I just kept thinking, what am I doing in this factory? So we got back together after that.
I think it strengthened us in other ways, because the bond that we have now is inseparable.
By 1961, the Dells were back, and they decided to audition to sing backup for the already legendary Dinah Washington.
Sometimes I'm happy.
She was getting ready to go on the road and she wanted a new group.
And we auditioned for her, and she fell in love with us.
One problem, Johnny Funches, the only member with children at the time, said the road was not for him.
Because Johnny looked at, maybe we ought to rehearse a couple of tunes before we get ready to get out. He said, I'm not going.
He stayed home to take care of his children. I thought that was quite admirable. We were kind of teed off out of it at the time.
But they remembered someone special, Johnny Carter, a founding member of the Flamingos who got drafted to the Army.
When I came back, they didn't want me back in the group.
They wouldn't let you back in the group?
Yeah, they had, and I started the group.
We get the word that Johnny Carter was hanging out at a place called the Esquire.
And I was at the local tavern.
We snatched him. I mean, literally, Johnny, come here, man, we'll talk to you. Because Dinah wanted us to leave the next day.
And we went out and rode around, and he hit a couple of notes with us.
And they were ready. They were so up, and I like the enthusiasm about them, the Holy Spirit.
Guess what else? Him and Johnny Funches were the same size and sung the same voice. And had the same name, Johnny.
We started singing some songs, just kind of revving him up. Next thing I know, we're on a plane, we're in Philadelphia.
And that was 45 years ago.
And the rest is musical history.
After years on the road, a devastating car accident, and a couple of years apart, the Dells were back together and making strides. In 1961, after recruiting final member Johnny Carter, the Dells hit the road with the late jazz, R&B, and pop great Dinah Washington.
What a difference a day made.
And what a difference Dinah made to the Dells.
24 little hours.
Dinah Washington, the queen. That woman was. Here's a woman that I liked her a whole lot, but then I couldn't stand her.
Dinah Washington was a witch.
I wasn't afraid of her.
She would fire you. Okay, you're out of here. You're fired. Next day, we'd be to pack that stuff. How come you ain't in rehearsal? What you mean? You fired us. You've got 10 minutes to get. You know, that's just the kind of person she was.
Ain't these tears?
Dinah Washington may have driven them crazy, but they respected her talent and they learned.
She had a lot of talent. Dinah could sing a song and nobody play any music. And she'd be in a perfect key. She was something.
It was all an experience to make us grow.
She was tough. She was a good influence on us, you know, as far as vocals and show business.
Dinah was rough. Dinah was a perfectionist. Dinah kept us under her wing for 2 years. It was like going to a male finishing school.
With Dinah Washington and through vocal coach Kirk Stewart, the Dells became jazz artists.
Jeepers creepers, where'd you get those rocks?
You know, most people don't realize that the Dells can sing jazz as well as they can sing doo-wop.
Like the jazz things we did, we was really five-party. So as opposed to with the Flamingos, the lead singer and four-part harmony. See, everything was like five instead of 4-1.
What we did with jazz, we did something that people used to just say, you know, they didn't expect that to come out of us.
One jazz performance highlight.
Anybody from the jazz era knows that 4 freshmen are strictly jazz.
And the biggest thrill I ever had was the 4 freshmen came to us and talked to us after the show.
We had just killed the audience. The audience, I mean, like 18,000 people there, and they're just applauding, clapping with us.
They thought we was heavyweight musicians out there singing that, you know.
And the guy from the freshman comes up to us and says, man, you guys are fantastic. Where did you guys learn all that wonderful harmony, the jazz thing? Blah. He said, we studied at Juilliard and got our degrees and the whole bit. He said, where did you guys get your degree? We said, well, the ice cream parlor, 147 to Roby and Harvey.
After touring with Dinah Washington, the Dells were recommended as an opening act to another legend, the late Ray Charles. The year was 1966.
The man was like in the military. You get on the plane, you'd have roll call.
Ray Charles was an honor cat. You never got a chance to talk to Ray.
His road manager, those who have seen the movie, see this guy that comes in, he's a real hard knob. Ray took us to Carnegie Hall in New York. Well, lo and behold, the Dells go out there and just kill the house.
We had like 5 standing ovations.
They didn't quite like that too well.
So the next night, Ray Charles, road manager, told us, when do you guys want to leave the show? Because we're going to be in Peoria tomorrow.
They came back and told us, well, where you want us to drop you off at?
Fired us, because we got a standing ovation.
We couldn't believe that we were being fired. This is before Donald Trump.
But the guys give Ray Charles credit because the star later congratulated them in person after they started to hit it big. The Dells charted with 40-plus hits in their career, beginning in 1967 with one of the many hits written by Bobby Miller called There Is. Miller also wrote one of their top sellers, which hit for the second time in 1968 and pushed their career into the stratosphere.
If you stay, stay, darling, stay in my corner.
And interestingly, they almost didn't re-record it.
The only reason Stay in My Corner got on the album, we literally needed another song to fill the album.
So we suggested to him, let's sing Stay in My Corner.
People just love Stay in My Corner, especially when Marvin started adding that long note.
When we got to it, we still were short of time. I told him, well, I'll tell you what, I'll do a long note.
And a long note he did.
He holds the note sometimes so long, we need to go over there to the Marvin, you start holding the note, let it go.
He held those for 2 minutes. You know, I said, breathe, man, you're going to die. Oh.
That was the first longest playing single in history. The DJs had a chance to go home, eat lunch, meet their wives, play with the kids, get back in the car, come back to the studio.
That's their part of the song. I never knew that when we did that it was going to be that big, but they loved that long note.
At the time, Stay in My Corner sold more than 4 million records and was followed shortly thereafter by another re-release.
Oh, what a love. Here she be. That's why I love you so.
Oh, What a Night, written by Johnny Funches and Marvin Jr., was inspired by a post-performance party with 5 female fans.
They liked the way we sing, and hey, what can I say? So they invited us over to their house. They lived in the city. And we went down to their party, and they had fried chicken. And they had it all laid out. They even had whiskey and beer, and boy, we had a ball.
Oh man, over the night, man, we had a great time.
So the next day we were saying, man, what a party. Boy, what a party. And Johnny said, oh, what a night. I said, say that again. He said, oh, what a night. I said, I love you, dear. And we rode over the night.
Oh, What a Night hit number 4 when it was first released in 1956 and was an even bigger hit when it was released again in 1969, climbing to number 1 on the R&B chart and number 10 on the pop charts. The 69 version was arranged by Charles Stepney, Adele's mainstay who went on to work with Earth, Wind and Fire. Stepney worked on several hits, including the 1971 topper, The Love We Had Stays on My Mind.
For once I feel my...
Johnny sets it up. Marvin comes in. He's inspirational, you know.
But early this morning, when I opened my eyes, that old lonesome feeling.
Larry Wade wrote The Love We Had with Terry Collier.
It was basically in part of everything that we were saying about our infidelity, so to speak, which I'm not very proud of now because it was kind of an impulsive situation then.
I like it. It's just, you know, it's just the groove, the lyrics, the tempo.
Because it's something that everybody's been through. And it's such a beautiful song with good lyrics, good music.
And the hits just kept on coming. Give Your Baby a Standing Ovation, I Miss You, My Pretending Days Are Over. Hits running right into the 1990s with 91's Heart is a House for Love.
Heart is a house for love, and I've learned that it don't take much to build love.
A Heart is a House for Love is from the movie The Five Heartbeats, but the movie could have easily been called The Five Dells because it's primarily about them.
I think the movie's fantastic.
It's our story. Most of it is true, and I don't want to see it.
After years of topping charts and miles of traveling on the road, the early 90s brought a sort of resurgence to the Dells, a revival wrapped in a movie called The Five Heartbeats.
Hey, man!
Everything that's in the movie, I told Robert Townsend.
He started traveling with us. He traveled with us about 5 weeks to see just what was going on.
Robert Townsend, I give him credit for keeping about 80 to 85% of that movie about the Dells.
Everything in that movie either happened to us or happened to somebody, but we told him about it. Like, remember when they held the guy out the window? That was Jackie Wilson.
I interviewed a lot of different, groups. Like I talked with the Temptations, I talked with the OJs, I talked with a lot of different singers, but then the Dells, and I guess maybe it's a Chicago thing, we just really bonded.
So why not just call it The Five Dells?
I wanted to create a fictitious group because I didn't want to say, hey, that's so-and-so in the movie and so-and-so went through that.
Because Robert was the first guy that really come along and try to do anything for us. Yeah. So it didn't bother us.
It's our story. Most of it is true, and I don't want to see it.
Why?
Maybe it's too true.
And there's little dispute it brought a new generation to the Dells, and it produced a hit. A Heart is a House for Love made it to number 13 on the R&B chart and is still a part of their performance repertoire. The Dells, now often referred to as the Mighty Mighty Dells, still perform regularly.
It's that they're still relevant, they're still strong, they still draw giant audiences.
To watch them, it is unbelievable. I feel privileged.
To see people still react to that is amazing.
The Mighty Mighty Dells!
Marvin Jr. and Vern Anthony Allison are Dells' sons who work with their fathers. Marvin sometimes sings backup and designs their costumes. Vern has produced songs and plays drums. And both feel blessed.
It's great. I'm contributing to their history.
Every night it brings chills. Every night. I mean, because their voices are just so pure.
Those voices, for 50-plus years, feeding family, and always together.
They had, this bond as brothers. You don't separate that. You don't break that up.
The group is a family. So when the Dells are out of town, the Dells kids are together.
I love them. They're family, and they've always been family. It's like seeing your cousins or your sisters and brothers.
In 2004, this family that is the Dells was honored by being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I want to tell you guys something. We have all of our family here tonight. And next to God, this is the most important thing to us, our family.
I saw tears. I saw a few tears. So, they were excited, and that touched me.
And when they called the Dells' name, at that moment in time, everyone in the entire room stood.
That was really fabulous. I felt so proud.
Johnny Carter was inducted with the Flamingos back in 2001, but the Dells have had to wait through 9 years of nominations.
Long overdue. Long overdue. Should have been there a long time ago. When they said this is the Hall of Fame, the Dells should have been at the door.
They don't know how many people really love the Dells, and they have no idea what we have done.
To forget that you had good music like that. That was the best music of our lives.
I think some things happen for the best. Had we been given all of the major recognition that I think we deserve, we probably wouldn't be around here today.
But they are here, and they are loved.
This union was just blessed by God.
They actually love each other.
If I had to live with these guys, I would kill them all. But for some reason, they love each other enough to hang together.
I ain't never got knowledge.
I love them. We argue. We had it. They get on my nerves sometimes. We're like brothers.
We're very close to each other. We know how each other is. We know how they do.
Well, we closer and been together longer than a lot of people have been married. So I would say that's close,
I believe everything that's happened to and for the Dells was like a deal made in heaven. We couldn't have avoided this if we had wanted to.
One thing I'm proud of, the Dells have always been men.
Congratulations on 50 years. I want to thank you so much for being in our corner.
Absolutely.
For supporting the Whispers. And more important than all, opening the door for so many other vocalists.
Absolutely. I really appreciate what you've done as far as laying the groundwork for people, not just for the OJs, but for other acts. And they don't even realize it.